Hey, what's up? Call the spaceships to Davenport. Prepare for divanarchy and interface with a couch in space. It is once again space couch time. My favorite time of the week, so far as I understand the concept of time. Sierra Rinks is first in the chat room today. Super pumped about that. Let me just hit share on the old space feed today because, I don't want to crash into the sun. Always want to be mindful of that if you're going to be out in space. But now that that's done, let's also be mindful of our sponsor, brand new for this episode, Tigersquawk Records. You want to check out all the following: Navigator from Duckbag TM. It's so dope. You also want to get Melting Rust Opera, just off the wall industrial music. Brain Games is out. This took us so long. I'm so happy with the result. The Nightsicles is out. Ooze Clues. That's what's up. Club Ovator's new single, Choke Point Overdrive. We'll get into that in a second. Amalgamated Cadaver live at Virtual Temple 5. Had a lot of fun doing that. Emerging Eldritch. We'll get all over that in just a second. You want to check out Landscape Body Machines, No Cable. Also available. Gasoline and Vertebrate. More on that shortly as well. Haster Sex Club. I think it's the That's the new one. From Elias Synesthesia. Distortion versus Tigersquawk. That's a lot of fun. Look at the new Israeli is awesome. You also want to check out all the other releases linked to at tigersquawkrecords.bandcamp.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited for today's guest. Not a stranger to the show, of course, but the output on our space guest today has just been nuclear, pardon the pun, because that's how the sun works. And this guy is a shooting star, much like our own sun. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Science Fiction. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I am
yes.
clearly in space as well. I am near a star. That is why it's so bright.
Right. Okay. Cool. That'll make the connection pretty great. Like normally, breaking the ionosphere there on terra firma is kind of a pain in the ass.
I decided being underground in my lair down below, we should go up to space for this tonight.
Okay. Cool. Well, today. I appreciate that. Well, you were certainly no stranger to making accommodations for artists, remixing everyone above and next to you and under the sun, as your position in space may be. But let's do a quick flyby on the stuff out now under your name, because we have Emerging Eldritch is the latest in what I'll call a trilogy, although correct me if I'm wrong. Tell us about this latest offering, Emerging Eldritch.
So, a lot of this came from having been working on the sound that I've just taken to calling goth trap at this point for, it's almost been a year now, hasn't it? Damn.
Wow, okay.
And it was just kind of the perfecting of the sound and the style overall and got a lot sadder than I was anticipating it being, and a lot more dynamic than the previous two outputs. And the whole Cthulhu theme kind of the fact that I didn't really know what else to go with. It just kind of, I'm like, hey, this kind of fits. Yeah, let's go with it. Let's just go with this. It kind of fits the overall theme, and just kind of just work with it, and just kind of worked it in. It was kind of a last minute decision.
So sort of another impetus came first, and for the audience, you'll find very quickly that the songs in this album are named heavily, or at least heavily inspired by our boy H.P. Lovecraft. So that sort of sound like this sort of started from another place emotionally, and then the sort of Lovecraft mythos made a nice sort of exoskeleton for it. It sounds like almost.
Essentially, I go into albums not really so much with that much of a concept. I just kind of let the music dictate what it's going to be. I just let it go out, and this is what you want to be. All right, you're going to be like what I'm working on right now is, is even sadder sounding than what I just did. And I'm like, okay, that I guess you want to be sad now. Okay. That's cool. Well, you can do sad.
Well, I mean, much like our own Lovecraft would open these vistas unto other worlds, it sounds like you're peering into what this music is and like drawing it out rather than almost, laying out track and sort of forcing it. Well, let's take a look at. I'm sorry. What were you going to say? Okay.
No.
Let's take a listen to a track in here. I selected "Dreams in the Witch House," but there are many tracks on here. This is off "Emerging Eldritch." All right, so that was "Dreams in the Witch House." We were talking over the music playing just now that's been showing up in some DJ streams. Pretty awesome. So this is feels like part of a trilogy with the two prior offerings, Book of Brimstone and Casting Curses. Is that where you're going with it?
Very loosely, yes. Okay. There wasn't a definitive storyline or anything in mind. It was mostly just more of a audio experience sort of thing. But to a degree, there is a connection between all of them. Because I'm not much of one for technical aspects with music creation. I am much more into philosophy, which I could go on about the philosophy of my music and the decisions that I made for everything for far longer than we have time for today. Easy. But Casting Curses was essentially the, starting point. And it was just me fiddling around and just kind of, oh, hey, I discovered that I could make this. So let's just start putting things together. And the name of that album came from the idea of, this is lo-fi goth trap beats that you could cast curses to.
Searing says, what I love about Si's track is that the music goes in different directions, which you can always tell it's from him. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's this, especially with this sound now, I've discovered, as Ed from Batavia has mentioned, this is essentially my sound at this point.
Well, let's get into that. Like, how did the evolution of what we're calling goth trap, or whatever you want to call it, how'd that start?
Okay, so if you pay attention to my work from way, way, way back, like 2015, you'll find hints and elements of Witch House making appearances. What was it? Death Kill. I was attempting to do that, and that's all the way back on my 2015 release, Philadelphia Experiment. Fast forward, I think I had elements of it showing up on the Monsters We
Mm-hmm.
Become, and then it was with the collaboration that I did with the ever so wonderful, ever so kind, and just my one of my favorite people in the world. My collaboration
There you
with
go.
Israeli on Mono Black Deck. When we did that collaboration, that was kind of the moment that I'm like, oh hey,
Mm.
I can make Witch
Interesting.
House. Holy shit, okay, let's start really going with this. And so then we got into Sithari, which is where I started to really focus and hone
Mm-hmm.
in on trying to create this very bass heavy, dark and intensive witch house
Mm.
sound. And then so I've just been playing with this idea. And if you listen to my more ambient works like Pilgrimage to the Abyss and Isolation, those albums, you'll hear the more conceptual idea of where that gets fused into my
Mm-hmm.
goth trap. And so then when last year I sat down, I wrote what became Dolores off of Casting Curses. And I just sat down. I'm like, hey, I've got this sample. I've been sitting on it for, God, it's got to be 6, 7 years. Let's see what I
Mm.
can do with it. Threw it in, started playing with it, had a little trap beat that I put in there. I'm like, oh, hey, this actually
Nice.
works. Okay, let's start extrapolating here, and then started mixing in the industrial tones and some more softer and more airy and light sounds mixed in with it, but still very harsh and unpleasant
Yeah.
tone,
It's
trying to create the
sorry. Go ahead. I'm excited about the goth trap stuff because the sound of it is like there's what you would expect from like a witch house world, but there's something like I don't know, pernicious or just there's like a like a sand under your fingernails, sort of
yes.
like evilness to it. I don't know. It's quite
That
great.
that that is exactly what I want because I
Mm.
like my music that I make to have equal balance of just unpleasantness. I
Mm-hmm.
want the listener to feel slightly unpleasant and uncomfortable while
Mm.
listening to it, but at the same time, not able to put your finger on exactly what it
Ha
is
ha
that's
ha
making you
ha.
feel this
Nice
way,
man.
and still being like, okay, I actually really enjoy this. This is beautiful, actually, and pleasant, and I can sit around and listen to this, but something's definitively not okay here. And I
Right.
just don't know what it is. That is a big philosophy of the music I like to make is just this balance of like being in a horror movie, but
Mm.
not quite at the scary point. It's the build up
Yeah.
to that
Hell
point
yeah. That
where
slippery
everything's
unease.
yeah, where everything's fine, but you know around that corner it ain't gonna be fine
Yeah.
anymore.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for that. It's really great, and we have several examples of this song, of the sound, I should say, because you have been, I don't even know what the word is, nonstop, full
Yeah.
bore, unrelenting. We'll go with that for remix work. Um, well, I want to take a step back because I want to thank you for all the work you've done for Tigersquawk. I mean, the just mono black deck made me think of that. It came from a Tigersquawk compilation
Yep.
and the collaboration with our own Italy, and have just been releasing all these albums under the Tigersquawk mantle. It's really done, I think, a lot for everybody, and really helped out sort of the collective or whatever that we call that label. It's been really great. So I can't thank you enough.
And that's all I try to do is I'm trying to help all y'all because all y'all help me out just as much.
well, it's
Uh,
really just been
the,
the fun.
as the old saying goes, the rising tide raises all ships.
Well, we the squawk don't stop. Especially with you, specifically for not only the remix you've done for that label under things like Gasoline Invertebrate, Sanity Checks, Club Ovator, et al. But some pretty heavy hitter names. Let's take a look at a little thing I threw together that's already out of date because more stuff has come out this week. But here's just a smattering of remixes recently completed by our guest today.
Inventor of the cosmic horror genre, but most famously, creator of Cthulhu.
Calling on the phone, and now you'll never be alone, never be alone. And now he's all up in your dome, all up in your dome. Tentacles pursue you, can blame it on Cthulhu. Calling on the phone, and now you'll never be alone, never be alone. And now he's all my backpack got that. Well, I'm over, well, that bet. Well, I found a hunt for a job, a hunt, you fun and my bed. Well, I chill in deep space. All matches over my face. Well, I deliver the past, but after there, my eyes drink my time. I don't like to waste. Get down.
Stand by.
So that was a few, but like not even nearly all that's been coming. Not even close
everything.
To it. Well, we'll get into what we saw. We'll start with Ricky at the top there. How did well, give us a little bit of a backstory on who that is and for the audience and how that came about.
So, as everyone should probably be aware of who Stuart Copeland is, but if you're not, that is the drummer for, a small band. You might have heard of them called The Police.
The Police.
Right. He's also done work for he's done all the OST for Spyro the Dragon games.
So like a pretty A-lister dude.
And then he's been doing music for a very long time. But he's not just an artist. He's also very busy with climate change and working on combating things like desertification. Recognized by the UN as a somewhat of an ambassador for desertifications. Has played at the headquarters of both UN headquarters in New York and in Geneva. Recognized as a celebrity ambassador for UNICEF. I mean, this man has accolades crazy. And the way this happened was Vinny from Giant Monsters on the Horizon. He put out a call out in December on the Sounds and Shadows
Big ups to
Facebook
both of them.
group.
Yeah.
Wonderful people. All wonderful people. And I saw this and I was like, oh, hey, remix. I'm hungry for work right now because this was like peak of my writing. I was super inspired. So I'm like, yo, let's do this. Give me some work. I had no clue what I was doing. I thought it was some side project of Vinny's. So I had no clue. So I do their work, send it off, and I just sit back and wait to see what happens. fast forward to about late January, I end up in a group chat with all the other remixes, including our lovely Planet
Big
Damage,
up to Planet Damage.
who is which hilariously, both of us are on Tigersquawk. Both of us did a remix of the same song. That is just you can't script
well,
it.
Great minds.
So that's when I found out who I just did this remix
wow, okay.
for, and it became.
That's
yeah,
funny.
that was when I found out. It was like a month later, and I'm like, oh my god, what happened?
It's cool, man. It's really good. And MCs Lars and Chris in there. That's pretty cool.
Yes, MC Chris happened because I just sheer chance just happened to see him post, and I think it was November, that he was having a remix contest for Fett's Vet because of the upcoming Boba Fett TV series. And so I was like, hey, I doubt anything will come of this. It'll be whatever. I doubt it'll go anywhere, but I would love to remix this because this is one of my favorite songs, and I really want to keep practicing this, practicing my new sound. So I busted it out, sent it off. Next thing I know, I discover that I am one of a total of 6 winners. I get a personal phone call from him.
What?
And it was incredible. It was such an honor.
What did he say? Just thanks for the remix and stuff?
Thanks for the remix. Hey, you want to do some more work in the future?
Oh,
so I've been trying this entire time to try to write some stuff to send off to him as well, and get him some beats. And then the MC Lars thing happened because Lars and I have known each other loosely over the years, but after I did the remix of you and his track, Axolotl Superpowers, which hilariously enough ended up being played on an educational radio station in, I believe, North Carolina, of all places.
Yeah.
Radioactive
Kids.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if the sound is going to go over well with the kids, but hey, the lyrics sure will.
They'll learn about goth trap and axolotls. It's just all sorts of education.
So Lars happened to have his new album coming out, which was Blockchain Planet, really and good. I was like, hey, do you have any remix work that you need done? And he said, hey, here's a copy of Blockchain Remix before it came out. Wow. Take a listen. And oh my lord, it was difficult. Okay. Because some of the songs, I don't know if you've heard that album yet.
Yeah, I got it.
So as you know, some of the songs are very personal songs. Right. And I'm like, I don't want to touch that. That's too personal. I would feel like I'd be violating that. So I'm not touching that. Other songs, I'm like, I don't know if my sound would really work with this. I could give it a shot, but I don't really know. And then you had, I think it was Blockchain Planet featuring MC Frontalot and who was that? I think it was Beefy on that. I can't remember.
Sounds right.
And I was listening to that track. I'm like, how am I supposed to improve on this? The beat's so good. And then Cthulhu, and which, fun fact, is a direct reference to a local rapper by the name of Tech9, who has a song called Caribou. And of course, my Kansas City ass picked up on it immediately. And I was like, I could give that a shot maybe. And then FDA DOA, I figured I could give a shot for that one as well. And did those, sent them off, and he loved them. And of course, got the blessing from both him and Chris they are up on my Bandcamp as a free download.
That's cool.
You do not need to do anything. You can just go download them. Boom, they're yours.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We want to go to Science Fiction. That's PSY. Bandcamp.com. There's so much stuff there. Please check that out.
Yes, I have links to everything that I'm featured on, every remix I've done, every compilation album I'm on, including all of my own work, all my own albums. You can find literally everything I am on my Bandcamp.
Awesome.
And you will be directed to those people's proper websites, and you will be able to purchase them through them. So go support these other wonderful people that I work with.
Fantastic. It is a wonderful curation of all things science fiction. I want to get to this. because you messaged me about it. I find it intriguing. You had been dealing with something I think we all possibly tackle, which is
Hmm.
imposter syndrome. I wanted to know your thoughts on that and why you wanted to bring that up here on Couch.
So this is something that I would love to get into with you and Steven for industrial
Hmm.
nerds more
Yeah.
in depth, because there's a lot that I feel that we could unpack
Right.
with this. But it's something that I've been dealing with for a
Hmm.
long time, and I mean, it's something I've thought about is that I feel that every single artist, no matter who you are, is going to be
Hmm.
dealing with it, and it's not something that
Mm.
ever goes away. It will always be present. And the only people who aren't dealing with it, I'm suspicious that they're not just hyper egocentric people that are unaware and out of touch of.
Yeah. Oh,
Cause,
I'm sorry.
cause I,
We lost you for a second there, Si. What was that sentence?
cause I feel that most people with it, because as much as we say don't focus on comparing yourself to other artists and
Yeah.
don't worry, we all do it.
Right. Sure.
It's inevitable. You're always going to be
You're
looking
always
at
gonna.
things. Yeah, because people share their stats. You're bombarded with it at the end of every year when
That's
Spotify
true.
goes,
Yeah.
"Hey artists, here's all your stats.
Mm.
Share it out with the world. Tell your fans thank you for all the support." You're bombarded with it at the end of every year. You can't
Right.
help but look at it and be like, "Wow,
You
I
can't help it.
what
That's
am
a
I
good
doing
call.
here?" Yeah, yeah. It's inevitable. You're going to be bombarded with this, so you're always going to feel to a degree that you don't belong.
Hmm.
And it's something that I've been in this position of, working with Stuart Copeland and Ricky
Mm.
Keys and working with people that I looked up to when I was 14, 13 years old. And here I am just up here. And yeah, it's sometimes, looking at my own, stats and work and being
Hmm.
like, this isn't moving as well as I thought it would. But yet at the same time, I'm being told by people that are in my peer group and people I looked up to that this work is amazing, but yet
Hmm.
it doesn't seem to be grabbing the traction that I would
Yeah.
anticipate it would. And so it kind of puts you in this position of like, is this really that good, or am I wasting my time? What am I doing right now?
Uh-huh.
What do I need to do to change this? And unfortunately, I don't feel that there's any good way to combat it per se. But the one thing I can always tell people, and that I've been practicing myself, is the best thing you can do for yourself is don't look at your stats. Ignore them.
Interesting.
Yes, yes, they can provide a lot of help in terms of knowing what kind
Hmm.
of, like, if you're branching out into a different sound, knowing if that's resonating with your audience, or where in the world, like, you're getting traction from. Yes, that is, and stuff of that nature. But realistically, maybe once every 2 weeks, take a quick gander at it. It's not going to change
Hmm.
that much in 2 weeks. But if you're checking it often,
Oh, it's a road
all
to
you're going
ruin.
to do, yeah, you're just going to be hurting
Okay.
yourself. So the best thing I can always say is don't look at your stats. Just ignore it, and just and luckily we don't have to deal with it anymore, since apparently this was the last one. But turn your email notifications off when Bandcamp Friday happens. Otherwise, you're just gonna make yourself sad. I
Interesting.
discovered that Friday.
It's there's a lot there. Like, I'll feel good about however many plays I got, and then see like this other artist, very much in my lane, got 3 times as many or something. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
why
You're
go
like,
down that road?
what am? Yeah, and when you see that, you're like, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do? And you start second guessing yourself and questioning everything. And if you're not careful, it will lead you into a spiral that will inevitably probably lead you just quitting music entirely. I have battled that thought so many times in the last 10, 12, 13, 14 years.
Let me ask you this, because now I'm curious. how do you deal with the following statement? Variations on you should be bigger, or I don't understand why you're not bigger. Because that one kind of fucks me up. Because it's like it's the ultimate backhanded compliment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I personally have never heard that because I am still so small time myself. I would say that, it's like, wow, that's possibly even, there's truth and merit to with even in that statement. It's just the nature of the industry where it's the unfortunate reality is we're only going to be as big as we ever end up being. And when you have things like life and work and obligations outside of music, on top of the sheer amount of work that's required to promote and create your music and market yourself, because most of us don't have a team or someone else to do it for us, and we can't afford to pay people to do it for us. It's inevitable that you're only going to be able to go only as far as you can realistically be able to get. And it takes time. It takes a lot. You've been at this for 20, 30 years. I've been at this for, 20 years myself. I mean, and we've only been able to get so far as we are. Now, that's not to say within another 10 years that something won't change and all of a sudden, boom, bigger, all of a sudden, just out of nowhere. It can happen.
Right.
I didn't expect to work with who I work with, but all of a sudden, here I am working with them. If you asked me 10 years ago if I would be where I'm at now, I would have probably been like, no, impossible. Why are you insane?
But you've been on fire, man.
But here I am anyway. And so it just takes time. That's the best advice I can give to any up and coming artist is it will just take time. Just keep working and putting out your work and just keep trying to put it out there for people to listen to. Eventually, traction will be found. You can't be stuck in the snow forever. You're going to find dirt at some point. You'll find a rock, something that will give your wheels traction to
I love
get
that
you
metaphor
out.
because it comes with that jerking motion too. Like it all kind of happens at once.
Yeah. All of a sudden it's just boom. Oh, okay. But remember, just because that motion happened doesn't mean you're completely out. You still have to keep trying to work. You still have to keep putting in that same work and effort. It's not just going to snowball out of control on you. Sometimes that snowball finds a little plateau and just rolls on that for a while.
Or you hit a pothole or something.
Yes. You Midwest.
I'm going to smash cut to this question because I want to get to it. Sort of a stock in trade here in Space Couch, but I don't think we've ever actually covered this with a Mighty Science Fiction. We need to at least do a pass at designing science fiction, the video game. Is this like a Tetris thing where you try to fit in all your remix work, or are you like a platformer thing where you're running around Kansas City just blowing up your boss or horrible coworkers because I know your day job sucks? Like, what's up with the science fiction video game?
So, I would say that a game based around me would be, truthfully, more akin to something like Minecraft.
Okay.
That is the game that I am most attached to. I've been playing it since it was an alpha.
Really?
Like when it was $12 way back in like 2009. Okay. It is who I am as a person. I mean, I have, I don't know if it'll come through, but I got an Enderman tattoo not that long ago because it is who I am as a person. I love Minecraft. That is the perfect game. Okay. So I would say that's something in relation to me would be similar. Okay. Not quite the same, but similar conceptually. Yeah, it would function similar to Minecraft. However, it would be much more cyberpunky, darker.
Maybe we're building these songs out of like blocks of like occult references and detuned pianos and stuff like that.
And I was about to say scarier than Minecraft, but to be honest, with how much Minecraft I've played, that game is actually a horror game. Do not let it fool you. I promise you that game is terrifying.
All right. This is the closest I've ever been sold on actually playing Minecraft. I didn't know it was secretly a horror game. We'll check that out.
Just go wander through a cave. Your guard drops. You're just looking for resources. You're out there just mining away. Next thing you know, you just hear that distinctive sound of a wick getting lit on fire and burning, and then explosion, and you're dead.
Sounds good. Well, that's so the science fiction video game soundtrack's gonna be banging. Very dark Minecraft.
Oh yes,
it's gonna be hot. Speaking of video games, I want to ask you this because it's like, I'm a giant nerd, dyed in the wool, obviously, but I never got into the whole Critical Role thing, and I know you're a fan. Should I just like crack open an episode, or has it been going? It's essentially like a D&D campaign, right?
Yes.
Has it been going long enough that I should start at the start just to like get all the references and stuff like that?
Okay, so it is actually broken up between three different campaigns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They are now on their newest campaign. Campaign 3 just started late last year, somewhere around there, if I recall right. The second campaign ended over in the summer. Mm-hmm. So they had a few months of they weren't doing the show because they needed to, prep for the new campaign. Matt Mercer had a ton of prep work that he needed to do.
That's the main guy, yeah?
Yeah, he is the DM. Now, if you want to start with it, if you go all the way back to the original campaign 1 with Vox Machina, you're actually going to be picking up, actually not at the start of that campaign, but a good portion into it, because it had been a home game for years prior to them starting the show. They just decided, hey, maybe we could bring this on to live stream. And I will say the audio is very rough because this was, mid-2000s.
Right, we didn't know.
Yeah, it was rough audio. No one had a clue what they were doing. All of us were just guessing on how to make video content and live stream content on the internet. So the audio is a little bit rough, but if you're willing to sit through the audio, even though it started like a good portion of the way through that campaign, it still goes for almost 200.
I'm sorry, it goes for how long? Oh, we lost
200.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
200 episodes.
And keep in mind, each episode is about 4 hours long.
Wow, that's a lot of content.
Yes. So if you're going to get into it, if you're going to start there, you better have some free time.
Okay.
Campaign 2 picks up, I think it was 20 years after the events of Campaign 1. It's all set in the same universe, same world. And so actions that happened in Campaign 1 have direct consequences and effects on Campaign 2, but not so much so that you can't just start at Campaign 2 and know what's going on. So you don't necessarily need to start with Campaign 1. You can pick up at Campaign 2 or even Campaign 3. You don't really need to know. But if you do know, it's kind of like an Easter egg.
Word.
Like a bit of a spoiler, not too much of one, but a small Easter egg spoiler was one of the characters has she has her patron being a Fey entity who was inadvertently released from the Feywild way back in Campaign 1. And so he's now running loose in the material world and ended up being the quote-unquote god for one of the characters. And you see how that interaction ended up spilling over and affecting the world at large. So with how Campaign 2 ended, I am so wildly fascinated and interested to see how the events of Campaign 2 are going to affect current events, which are now 30 years.
Lethal Jelly Beans on YouTube says most of these are great to listen to while doing chores. Something quite zen about listening to the madness while folding your clothes. Totally.
Yes, it makes for a very good podcast sort of listening material.
Speaking of listening material, I'm going to pivot back to to you because I want to do a little bit more science fiction talk. We are coming to the end of our sort of parabola orbit here, but you have a bunch of remixes in the clip yet to do. I know you're always working. What is your workflow like? Do you put down the track once and then hear like a little line and like zoom in on that, or is it just sort of an evolving process?
So, what I like to do when I'm working on a remix, it's similar to how I work on a regular track, but not quite. For a remix, what I'll do is I'll throw down all the stems that I have, give it a good listen through all the way through, just to kind of get what was it that they were doing. I want to know what it is that you were doing and where your headspace was, and then from that point, I go, okay, now I know what they were doing. What can I get rid of? So sometimes I'll retain a fair portion of the original. Other times, I will chop out the vocals and just build an entire track around that. And from that point, it usually... So my normal method of creating music is I usually start with the hook. Because the hook in the chorus tends to be where the most is going on. So from that point, you just scale back or scale forwards depending on where you're at in the song. And so remixing, I'll start similarly to that, but because what I'll do is I'll leave the vocals in the track to take up the entire space so that way I know how long the track is. And to keep track of where the timing needs to be. I don't want to try to fiddle too much with the play.
We keep losing you on audio a little bit, but you're setting up like the interesting challenge of a remix. It's not like this free-forming thing, like it's this beautiful sand dune that evolves over time. It's like somebody sort of handing you scaffolding for a hospital and saying, okay, now put a Burger King into this. Like, yeah, okay, I guess we can make it work. We'll just figure out how to make this Burger King work out of a...
Oh God, I will absolutely make this Burger King. God, I love Burger King.
What's your order at Burger King?
Depending on how hungry I am, 2 to 3 double cheeseburgers and fries and a large drink.
Where do you put it? You weigh like 8 pounds. Cool, man. Well, you must burn that energy off when you're doing stage gospel stuff. Thanks again for that. We'll see if we can make that happen again now that we're in post-pandemic world. I don't know what the nomenclature is. Whatever this is right now. We'll see if that can be done in a responsible manner, of course. We are on just about the tail end of our rogue flight path out here in space, but we got it. Like, I know a Corvix remix that is an especially dope one, like just came out about 8 seconds ago. And you probably released a bunch of remixes on the sly during this interview. But what is up next for the Mighty Science Fiction?
So, okay, I have a lot on my plate. I have a lot that's out there. Some of it I'm not 100% sure if I can even announce. But I do know for sure I have... I just got the remix kits for an artist by the name of Hexa.
Awesome. Oh no! Okay, after Hexa was.
But I was just mentioning I know her through Twitter.
Okay.
I got her remix kit, so I'm going to be starting on that. I have a remix kit now from the very own Tigersquawk Records, Melting Rust Opera.
Melting Rust, nice.
So I'm really interested to see how that works out because they are a fascinating band.
They're crazy, right?
They are. They're so weird and different. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? This is a challenge.
I did a remix for them, and I was like, I don't know where the song is. There's like 18 songs in this song.
That is a very true statement.
Yeah.
Opened up and looked at that remix kit today.
And it's like it's not noise. It's not like a wall of just like a bad sector or something like that. There's musical elements there, and they're put together by a human? Question mark. I don't know. Everybody check out Melting Rust Opera. It's the Soul German act on Tigersquawk right now. I couldn't be happier. Pure Tigersquawk. But I'm so happy you started there. I don't mean to steamroll over you. This is how excited I am in my body for the prospect of two of my favorite artists collaborating.
And then I've got floating out there in ethereal space, remix for one of the people I looked up to when I was in high school, the ever amazing Cat with Slashes.
Dude. Formative for me as well was that ATF
very
CD.
Much so. The point of no return was
so. Now you just busted out a remix for him. It's great. Twice.
Yeah, and then work.
Sorry, that was after Cat was.
Oh, and then as far as my own personal work, I have an album in the works right now, about 3 tracks in. Expect that sometime probably late fall, maybe sometime around December-ish, maybe. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that pans out. Nice. And then this is Space Couch exclusive.
Woo!
I hinted at it on my personal page, but this is something. So, as I mentioned earlier in this, I am very much of a philosophical person with my work. Mm-hmm. And this album is going to be something similar that's in that vein. I've done it many times. I've done it a few times in the past. There's a band called Bong Ripper.
Right. Stoner
metal band from Chicago, who is very well known for making incredibly long songs. My album Pilgrimage to the Abyss is directly influenced by them. That's why there's 3 tracks on there. There's 5 tracks, 3 of which are 20 minutes long.
Love it.
And then my Lord of Death album, my very first album, which I kind of regret doing it. That's why I'm doing this again. But that was actually, even though it says it's like 20 some odd tracks, it's actually meant to be 1 hour long piece of music.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because Bong Ripper has an album called The Great Barrier Reefer, which was an hour long. And I've always thought that was such a crazy, cool concept. I want to do it too. And so here soon, I will be starting the process of creating another hour-long piece of music.
Oh, yeah. You heard it on Space Couch. We got an hour-long album from the man himself in the clip.
So with everything I know now about music production, this might get very interesting very quickly. It's just going to take a long time, so I'm not going to give any specific release dates. At best, you might be able to hope for summer of next year.
Cool.
At best.
Well,
at best.
It will take us that long to fully digest all your remix work, as well as Book of Brimstone, Casting Curses, and Emerging Elders, as well as Sithari and the Portal album. It's all great, man.
There's so much. There's so much music.
So inspiring. And like I said, just a joy to have on Squawk. And a joy to have on Couch. You're welcome back anytime. We are gonna pull back on into the station. Do you have any closing thoughts here on this wonderful episode of Space Couch?
So firstly, I'd like to recommend everyone, if you go out and pick up Casting Curses, Book of Brimstone, and Emerging Eldritch, throw those into a playlist. Because if you want music to sit, relax, listen to, play video games to, do cleaning around the house, do some work, whatever it is you do, this is the perfect playlist to do it to. I promise you, I do it every single weekend. Also, to all the other artists out there listening, if you're ever just not feeling good about yourself, questioning your worth and your value when it comes to the music that you make, please remember that that feeling is momentary. It will pass, and try not to dwell on what you're seeing other people do. And just remember, maybe not as many as you would like.
I gotta make you repeat that last line because you were it was so good, and then we lost it for a second.
But remember that there's people out there, even if it doesn't seem like it, that are interested in what you do. And keep putting that work out there. It is very important that you do because it's your work. And if you ever wonder, why am I still doing this? Remind yourself why you got into doing it in the first place. For me, I wanted to make music that I enjoy listening to. That's why I make music. It's because I want to listen to it.
Hell yeah,
that's
man.
it. And that's what I remind myself every time I feel like I'm questioning why I still do this. Oh, yeah, that's right. I do it because I want to listen to something.
It's so simple is not the right word. Uncomplicated, but so impactful at the same time. That's really great, man. I love it. Thank you. That's inspiring. I'm going to take that into the rest of my day. This is Brian for Space Couch for Science Fiction, saying, call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for divanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. We're going to go to the outro now. You want to get your name in the credits? You check out the Gods of Gold on Patreon. Space Couch, out! I let us talk over the credits here. Big up to Blizzard Game, Jelly What, Orbit Radio. My friend from high school, Dominic, Jonathan from For All the Emptiness. Grim has been on the show. Brett and Emily Lawrence. Ray out of Providence. Fly Ahead. Planet Damage. And of course, Phil with the video questions. It has been awesome to have Science Fiction on. You're welcome anytime.
I would love to come back. I love it here.
I feel a little bit bad because in a 45-minute interview, I feel like we could have gotten 16 and a half remixes out of you, but we'll take those 45 minutes because we just love you having couch so much. Oh, and we'll stop.